Learn what makes a goal worthwhile and when to give up on one activity to start another in this book overview for Bungay Stanier's How to Begin. Introduction. What does it mean to me? Tools to aid you in following your own path. Self-help publications frequently follow predetermined routes that go to well-known destinations, much like railroads. Your ticket is the book you hold in your hands or view on your screen. The voyage has been planned. You simply need to carry on. And what do you know? Traveling in such manner is frequently the best option. You don't have to solve every problem on your own all the time. The quickest route to your destination may be to follow professional guidance. Say you normally make an effort to eat a nutritious and balanced diet. By choosing the spinach salad instead of the chili cheese French fries, you keep yourself healthy and active, which makes you more likely to be productive and happier. However, your life objective isn't always to be energetic and healthy. It serves as a means for you to accomplish the other things you care about. Therefore, you don't actually need to be knowledgeable about all aspects of nutrition. You don't need to be aware of the health benefits of spinach. By following the advice of the experts, you can enjoy the benefits of healthy eating, energy, productivity, and everything else. These condensed versions of How to Start by Bungay Stanier adopt a different strategy. Unlike the majority of self-help specialists, Bungay Stanier goes beyond simply giving advice on how to live your life. Bungay Stanier is aware that no one can define for us what is important to us. We must forge our own pathways since, in both cases, the one that leads to great fulfillment for you can be a dead end for me. They are not railway tickets, in other words, these summaries. They don't specify an ultimate destination that every one of us ought to strive for. We all have our own unique destinations and objectives. Exactly what those objectives are will differ from person to person. The characteristics of those aims, though, shouldn't change. Your goals will be deemed worthy goals by Bungay Stanier if they meet certain criteria rather than simply being what they are. As far as we are aware, life is brief and we only have one chance to make it. We don't have time to go down rabbit holes. We have a responsibility to ourselves to achieve these significant objectives. And that's precisely what these summaries will be doing. So let's look at the resources that can guide you on your journey to achieving your deserving objective. You'll also discover along the way the ability to stress test major life tasks before committing to them, and the knowledge of when to stop working on one project and begin another are what make a great goal actually worth your time. Fundamental notion-worthy objectives possess three unique characteristics. Thus, admirable aims have particular characteristics, or, to be more precise, three distinctive characteristics. Every worthwhile endeavor needs a challenging, significant, and exciting goal. Let's examine someone's life to gain a better understanding of this. We'll follow him as he grows from a child to an adult, and as his story is told, let's see if his life aim includes those three characteristics, if it is in fact a worthy ambition. Here is Paul, reader. Paul is a kind, perceptive, and knowledgeable young man. In school, he performs well. He puts considerable effort into his education. He enjoys playing the piano, daydreaming, and drawing in his free time. When he becomes 18 and is ready to start college, he will have a number of options. His parents, who are realistic realists with very little head in the clouds, gently advise him to pick a safe vocation, and lovely, sensitive Paul, not wanting to let his family down, agrees. He enrolls in medical school, excels there, and goes on to become a physician. He also does a good job. It certainly isn't dull. Every day, he faces new challenges to overcome. He's always becoming better and learning. It has value as well. Not only in terms of his salary, but it is undoubtedly a consideration. Paul has the view that everyone should be helpful and should offer more to the world than they receive. He tells himself this a lot. Despite not necessarily being enthused by passion for his work, he is proud to be of service to others. Therefore, the following query arises: is the objective that Paul has dedicated his life to achieving, the life he has chosen for himself, a worthwhile objective? Undoubtedly, it's intimidating. Life or death situations that call for tremendous mental and moral fortitude present themselves with new challenges every day. It challenges him, pushes his boundaries, and keeps him evolving, which is what a difficult objective should do. And it is undoubtedly significant. In the most dramatic way possible, he is helping others by saving lives. What it means for a goal to be important is that he is giving back and visibly bettering the world. But is it exhilarating? The third of the three qualities that all worthy goals must possess is that they must be exciting. It ought to be fascinating. Your values should be reflected in it. It should be daring and entertaining, something you don't have to do but want to do. The fact is that Paul has an itch. He has a deep-seated belief that being a doctor is insufficient. There's a gaping hole. He simply cannot identify what that something is. You might share my sentiments. Checking 2 of the 3 boxes is not good enough. A 3-legged stool with one leg that is shorter than the others is an example of this. Is it functional? Yes, it does work. However, it won't ever support the full weight of your talent and ambition and will always be uncomfortable to sit on. How then can we strengthen that shaky 3-legged stool? Keep that mental picture in mind as we move on to the following summary. Concept 2. A poor first draft is where it all begins. Making a stool, whether literal or symbolic, is similar to making anything else. An idea or a design is where it all begins. The fact that the idea exists is more important than where it came from. Let's get down to business and perform a workout as a group. Consider a life project that you would like to work on. We're going to help that concept leave your mind and enter the real world. We must begin with a sketch in order to do that. It's not necessary to have a fully developed concept. It just has to be written down. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece. Tangible. Real. It will be disorganized, hazy, and generally awful. It's okay though. Let's wrap up that dreadful first draft. Since achieving our noble goals on the first try is practically impossible, this is sufficient for the time being. And there are numerous justifications for that. We frequently struggle, like Paul, to put into words what is missing. Be careful not to overthink it, though. Quickly connect the words, then continue.
You might write down the following if your goal is to go to bed at 10 p.m. every night. For instance, early night equals early start, equals more energy throughout the day, equals more energy after work, equals more time for X, Y, or Z project.
Create quick word associations for your objective and then continue. Allocate 10 minutes to this task. Always keep in mind to strive for worthwhile objectives. Ask yourself whether it's intimidating, significant, and exciting as you're writing it down. Does it require you to step outside of your comfort zone without being impossible? Will it help you feel more connected to the world in some way? Does it make you happy? Continue to make word associations to see how far you can get. Can you now summarize it all in a succinct mission statement? Consider phrases like, create a new, excellent podcast, which is the author's admirable objective. Is perfection going to occur? Undoubtedly not, no. However, it's a start. 3. Check to see if your goal is realistic before continuing. I see you've finished your first draft. Bravo! It's time to put your noble goal to the test. As a stress test, think of it. How durable is it? Does it appear to be stable under the weight of your aspirations, or are there any signs that it might tip? Starting with the spouse-like test. Here's the concept. You will run your idea by the person who is most familiar with you. It doesn't have to be an actual spouse, so it is spouse-like. It might be your sister, best friend, or even your significant other. The point is that they are someone who has experienced everything, your jokes, your hopes and ideals, and your hang-ups. They know who you are, what you believe in, and where you are in life. These people are considerate. You still have your drawing on paper. Despite how great it sounds, it is still abstract. You're about to make that change, but it could easily remain there, hidden in a drawer. You're going to hold yourself responsible and also make a reality check for yourself. Fearful, yes. Necessary? Absolutely. Each of us has blind spots. Early problem detection will prevent a lot of future heartache. So, what can you anticipate? You're likely to hear one of 3 responses from your spouse-like person. Excellent, indeed. Do it. Do not do that, it is crazy. Or, yeah, it's a great idea, but you've been talking about it for a while, just do it. Be on the lookout for strong emotions. Positive comments don't necessarily mean you should continue, but they are a great indicator that you are. Negative feedback is not a warning sign, rather, it serves as a reminder to double-check that you haven't missed anything important. Our next test is to see if your project fits into the Goldilocks zone. If you've read Goldilocks and the 3 Bears, you may remember the young girl who tried to eat 3 bowls of porridge. One was too cold, another was too hot, but the third was just right. The Goldilocks zone is a concept used in astronomy. The region of space close to a star is where a planet's water is still liquid. The water boils off on planets that are too close to stars. Water freezes when it is too far away. You can find liquid water, which is a requirement for life as we know it, in the Goldilocks zone. Some objectives are too specific and granular. An illustration would be going to bed by 10 p.m. Others, such as achieving happiness, are overly broad and abstract. A goal that feels just right is what you're after. The Goldilocks test is named for the idea that your project should fall into a specific Goldilocks zone. You're trying to find the ideal balance between meaningful and doable, inspiring and doable. So, how did it perform after the stress test for your noble goal? Still shaky? Just return to the sketch and make the necessary adjustments. Principle Concept 4. Minor changes can greatly improve the clarity of your purpose. Let's review. Your first draft is now public because you've already given it to someone who resembles your spouse. You've also considered the item's heft and weight. Is it possible? Will it be worthwhile? These stress testing were successful? Yes? Great. You are prepared to begin writing your final draft. How? Read on. The author has a favorite eatery in Toronto. It measures the spiciness of its dishes on a scale from 1 to 20, or from mild to insanely hot. What does this chili scale have to do with anything, though? You can evaluate your worthwhile objective using a similar scale, though. It shouldn't be overly spicy because that would cause excessive perspiration and discomfort, but it could probably use a little extra kick. It is frequently simple to increase the impact of your aim by adding a single word or brief phrase to your mission statement. And that's the task we'll do next. You should allow yourself about 15 minutes. A pen and paper, the Notes app on your phone, or anything else that writes are also required. Ready? Nice. Okay, let's begin. How can you make your draft more interesting? Let's examine the categories of terms you could include. Let's start by thinking about time. Consider how much time you'll devote to achieving your goal. 5 hours per week, for instance, or a full-time commitment? You have a lot of options thanks to deadlines. Until tomorrow? Inside of 4 weeks? Before the year is over? By 2040? Before I go. Next, consider your working strategy. Will there be a group or just you? Willingly? Joyfully? Passionately? All in? What about the audience your project is intended for? Is it aimed at people in your neighborhood or people around the world? Do you want 10 million global subscribers or 1,000 local customers? Aside from outcomes, think about them. There are many adjectives to choose from. Consider words like profitable, sustainable, profitable, liberating, or gratifying. You can strive to be in the top 10%, 5%, or 3%. Your goal can be to change the world or to become a best-selling author. It can be acknowledged, cherished, or treasured. Standards are the next. Are you exceptional, professional, or elite? Too far afield? What about capable or simply adequate? How did your mission statement alter as you were putting all that extra spice? Your poor first draft's hazy descriptions ought to have begun to solidify and narrow down. Recall the author's poor first draft, which read, "Create a new, excellent podcast." He liked the word new when he revised his draft after engaging in this practice. It is accurate and significant. Top-notch was a bit too general. It needed to leave. He tried qualifying the duration and outcome of his project after experimenting with more adjectives and adverbs. Launch a new podcast that is in the top 3% of all podcasts within 12 months. His final draft is that. It's much tighter, yes? Try to make your mission statement as powerful as you can. Key Concept 5. Consider the rewards and hazards of your aim to determine your level of commitment. You now have the completed draft. It is thrilling, meaningful, challenging, possibly a little scary. That's great. It's supposed to be intimidating, after all. You're about to make a decision. There is still one more test to perform. A cartoon of a chubby moose lying in front of the TV on a worn-out old chair with a drink in its hand was created by the American cartoonist Gary Larson, who also created the Far Side comic strip. Even though he is an animal, he embodies the phrase "locked in a rut." Just now, his moose wife picked up the phone. It's the call of the wild, she informs him while concealing the phone's microphone. Of course, the joke is that no creature is less likely to heed the call of the wild than Larson's chair-bound moose. What about you, though? Do you intend to respond? Will you pursue this objective, or will you pass up this chance? Even if it's unpleasant to consider, it's essential to this trip. The fact is that there are good reasons to disregard the call. Yes, maintaining the status quo has benefits, but there are also drawbacks to doing what is familiar to you. You'll be balancing those benefits and expenses in our final exercise. Commence with the incentives. The greatest reward is keeping what you have. Each of us sees that differently, although the concepts are typically rather similar. You get to keep the convenience, standing, and power you've accrued over time. You maintain ownership. You can't fail if you don't try something new. You won't let anyone down, including yourself. It's secure, tested and proven comfortable. The drawback is that none of those things will enable you to realize your full potential. Work on the challenging tasks if you want to achieve that. Pose a challenge into uncharted territory. So let's start the workout. Start by considering how putting off your worthwhile goal will help you. You can discover that the current situation enables you to maintain your selections. You might be concerned about losing money or prestige. Or you can be forced by your project to acknowledge that you don't know as much as you thought you did. Perhaps it enables you to continue giving yourself a reassuring story about success being the result of blind luck rather than hard work. Give yourself 10 minutes, then make a column listing of all the incentives. Despite how difficult it is, keep digging. You're going to find some really potent information. Once you've written down your prizes, make a second column. This is where you'll list all the expenses associated with giving up on your noble objective. What happens if you don't answer the call, just like Larson's moose? What chances are you passing up? It could be the opportunity to network with intriguing people or develop skills that pave the way for a more meaningful career. Or perhaps you'll accept the notion that you've reached your pinnacle. Another 10 minutes, please. Once you've completed these 2 columns, choose the top 3 benefits and expenses. How do they compare? What direction does the balance sag? This portion of the exercise can be completed mentally. You might discover that everything is essentially pointless because you already know the solution. That might happen in one of 2 ways. Don't worry if the benefits outweigh the drawbacks. Finding that out now is much preferable to learning it weeks, months, or years into a project that wasn't the best fit for you. If you find yourself in that situation, take the exit, then go back to the start of the procedure. Change your objective. Does it require some adjustments, or should you choose a different aspiration? You're ready for the last step, commitment, if the drawbacks of ignoring the call outweigh the benefits. Avoid spending too much time planning and instead take action while monitoring your results. We've accomplished a lot. Your goal has been drafted, redrafted, refined, finalized, and tested. In short, you've done your due diligence. You've cleared the biggest hurdle. You're ready to begin. That means leaving the planning stage and actually doing the work. Remember, endlessly reworking to-do lists can be a form of pseudo-action. It's a way of tricking yourself into believing that your procrastination is achieving something. The key is to actually move forward. If it's a book you're writing, write it 1 page at a time. If you're building a community organization, fund it 1 phone call at a time. Ongoing commitments to small steps of action make the difference. So take the necessary actions. Chances are, you're going to be working on your worthy goal for a while. Depending on your project, it might take months, years, or even decades. So, it's important to take time out to evaluate your progress. If you want to maintain momentum, it's a good idea to take a break every 6 weeks. That's enough time to make real progress but not long enough to rack up serious hidden costs. Take a few days off to evaluate the previous weeks. What are you happy about? What went wrong? Do you want to continue with this project? If so, what's your target for the next 6 weeks? Breaking your worthy goal down into small chunks like this makes it feel much more achievable. We owe it to ourselves to make the most of our time on this planet. That means doing something that matters. No one can tell you what that might be. You have to decide for yourself. The best way to figure that out is to set a goal for yourself and put it through a series of tests. Is it thrilling, challenging, and important? Do the people who know you best think it's a good idea? Is it better than the status quo? If the answer to those questions is yes, you might just have found a worthy goal. Click the link below to get the book if you're interested in overcoming chaos in your life. Thanks for watching.